Despite what our modern feminist society is trying to tell everyone, women are still attracted to and want strong men. And this is especially true when it comes to Christian women. Now, despite all the men out there complaining that there are no Christian women left, there are no traditional women left who value traditional roles, and they're furiously typing in the comment section right now how wrong I am, rest assured, while I do agree these types of women are becoming rarer and rarer, they still are out there. And I hear from them all the time. I get comments and emails all the time from women who are saying this exact same thing that men are complaining about. There's no traditional women. There's no women who have biblical values. The women are saying the same exact thing. There's no men who pursue. There's no strong men who want to lead in that biblical way. So all that to say, I do 100% agree that these types of people, both men and women, with these values and these goals are becoming a lot rarer to find. And I lead with all of that information because if you want to be the type of man who ends up with one of these types of women, you need to be doing the right things because the competition is high. And I'm not saying it's a competition or that it's someone that they need to, you need to win this woman over the other guy. I'm just talking practically, statistically. If you don't have your act together, why would she come and want you? And likewise, the same thing goes for her. All that to say, a beautiful, godly woman wants a strong, godly man. And so if you want one of these women, you have to stop presenting yourself as weak and doing things that make you look weak. So here are 5 things that make men look weak to women. Number 1, spiritual, emotional, and practical immaturity. Women are attracted, in general, to men who are either equal or above them in maturity when it comes to those types of things I mentioned, spiritual, emotional, and practical categories. And we all have an internal clock. So, for example, let's put some flesh on what I'm saying here. A high school guy, and he likes video games. That's not going to be a huge turnoff to high school girls if he has other desirable qualities for a guy his age and in his season of life. And that's not a statement about, high schoolers dating. That's a different topic. I'm more under the idea of, date when you're ready to actually pursue marriage rather than just fooling around and dating. That's a side note. But my point is, as a high school boy, that's not a huge turnoff because those girls, that's what you expect at that age. When you're in your 30s or 40s and you're still playing video games as much as a high school boy or just too much, that's a huge turnoff to women in their 30s and 40s because the internal clock no longer matches. You're not projecting what a strong man at that season of life should be projecting. So another way to put it is, if you're a college age man, you need to be something more than a high school boy. If you're in your later 20s or 30s, you need to be something more than a traditional college age man, and so on and so forth. If you're looking back and projecting things that are behind the clock, so to speak, that is a sign of weakness towards women. And this isn't like, I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm just telling you how it is. This is what women are going to see when they see these qualities. If you want to do those things, more power to you, that's your choice. But if you're trying to project strength and you want not to be seen as weak, then you have to be on par with your maturity level for your age. And I say that humbly because we all are immature in certain areas of our life. I'm not trying to say, all guys got to be perfect to get a woman. It's not my intention here. I have areas of weakness and immaturity in my life that I have to keep growing. So that's not the point. I'm just talking about a big principle is that the older you get, the less grace women are going to give you for the immaturity that they see. If you're on the younger side and you have an entry-level job and it doesn't pay you that much, it's not a huge problem to a woman if you have a strong work ethic and if you seem to be going in the right direction. Because she's going to look at you and say, I see potential. I see him going in the right direction. Even when it comes to emotional maturity, which women are oftentimes a little bit more mature in earlier on in life. So if you're not there, if you're going in the right direction, that's okay. But when you start going up in age and your maturity level is still way far behind, that's when it looks like weakness to women. As Paul said, when I was a child, I spoke like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I gave up childish ways. Number 2, complaining to a woman and seeking comfort from her. Modern women say things like, I want a man who's comfortable sharing his emotions, or I find it attractive when a man can cry in front of me, or I want a man who's soft and tender. This is a trap. Do not believe this type of thing when you hear it from women. Women think they want this until they actually get into a relationship with a man like this. When a man does these types of things that a woman is saying, they don't know what to do with this guy because it's not natural. It's not what they were looking for really. What they're being sold a lie by culture that says strong men or, attractive men have a more feminine side. And that's just not true. Women aren't attracted to femininity in men. They're attracted to masculinity in men. And I'm not saying you shouldn't share or open up or be emotional. You actually do need to do those things. Hear me say that. You do need to do those things if you're trying to connect with a woman. If something sad happens, and you feel like crying, like someone dies, then that woman might see that as attractive. Oh, look, he's crying. I feel bad for him. So those are good things. But that's different than what guys often interpret this advice to be emotional and sensitive and all of that stuff. A lot of guys interpret that as be whiny, complaining, and look for comfort from a woman because, that's what she wants. She wants to be your comforter. Really, in my view and in my study of scripture and observation of women, they don't really want a man who's expressing his emotions all the time. What they really want is a man who understands their emotions and a man who can make her feel known. A man who can make her feel like he understands me. He understands how I feel. He's hearing how I feel. He's considerate of that. So you don't want to be the complaining, whining type of guy. And I learned this from my dad. So I'll tell you a little story about my dad. So when I was 10 years old, my dad, he used to work before that. He used to work at the water department. It's like a construction job, basically. And he was just a real fit guy, real athlete. He was a cyclist. He would ride 80 miles, like multiple times a week, all kinds of fitness. So he was just like an expression of a masculine man externally. But when I was 10 years old, he had a massive stroke, completely ruined his left side of his body, brain injury. It even changed the pitch of his voice. His whole personality completely changed because he had a massive brain injury. And so he lost his job at the water department. He wasn't able to perform at such a high level physically. He still is very active physically and it cares about his fitness, but all those things vanished. And, it was really hard growing up, navigating all that, but he lost his job and he got a job at the grocery store, because he's still taking care of me. He's still taking care of my sister. He's paying the bills the best way he knows how to. And I never saw him complain about all this. And yeah, he was down about it. Yeah, he wished he didn't have the stroke. He would say things like, man, it'd be great to be able to use my left hand. But it was never this whiny, emotional, woe is me. And that left an impression on me. And when I became a young man myself earlier on in my 20s. I remember one evening we were just sitting down at the table talking, father and son, just talking about life, talking about being a man. And from memory, which makes this even cooler, from memory, he recites this poem about what it means to be a man. So it's from Robert Service, and it's called Carry On. And again, from memory, he just sits at the table and he starts saying this poem to me. And so in the strife of the battle of life, it's easy to fight when you're winning. It's easy to slave and starve and be brave when the dawn of success is beginning. But the man who can meet despair and defeat with a cheer, there's the man of God's choosing. The man who can fight to heaven's own height is the man who can fight when he's losing. This is the expression of masculinity, not to lose, but to have character even when your life is hard. Don't be a complainer. Don't be a whiner. These make you look weak. A woman does not want you to be your mommy. She doesn't want to go to you to make you feel secure and safe. Rather, she wants a man who makes her feel that way. She wants a man who has a strength to offer, not a strength that he's trying to find in her. Now, don't get me wrong. When a good woman sees you struggling, she will have compassion and comfort for you. And that's really good. I'm not saying don't receive comfort, don't receive compassion. That's not my point at all, so don't hear that. My point is, don't seek it out. Like, I need this, give it to me. I need your help. When she sees you struggling, she's going to offer comfort because that's in her nature to give and receive it. It's a blessing. It'll help you. It's beautiful to have a woman who cares about you. But you can't be that guy who's constantly fishing for the compassion because it's a sign of weakness. Whining and complaining is the hallmark of weakness. She wants a man who's following Philippians 2:12-14. Work hard to show the results of your salvation, obeying God with deep reverence and fear, for God is working in you, giving you the desire and the power to do what pleases Him. Do everything without complaining and arguing. Number 3, fishing for compliments. So, did you like that gift I got you? So, what did you think about that date we went on last night? I've been working out lately. Have you noticed? Don't be that guy. People aren't blind. We all see each other's successes. And what we don't like is when someone knows their successes and flaunts them. That makes us not like people. And women feel the same way about men. If you project the good parts of you and you're fishing for compliments, that's a sign of weakness because it's showing you aren't secure with yourself. However, what we all do like is someone who's successful and humble about it. That's the ingredients of like someone you admire. If someone's arrogant and prideful and successful, it's like, not cool. Or if they just don't ever accomplish anything because they're lazy or they just whatever, it's not, even if they're humble, it's like, well, I appreciate your humbleness, but it's not really, I would like to also learn how to succeed in these other areas. So the people we admire on a larger level are those who have done something successful spiritually, emotionally, gone through something hard, done it well for the Lord, or even in practical ways like started a business or were successful in some area of life, and they're humble about it. Here's some Bible verses to help us with this point. Proverbs 27:2, let another praise you and not your own mouth, a stranger and not your own lips. Galatians 1:10, for am I now seeking the approval of man or of God? Or am I trying to please man? If I were still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ. Romans 2:29, and a person with a changed heart seeks praise from God, not from people. And to take this whole point a step further, you really want to be the type of man who is eager to give other people compliments and can see the good that other people are doing, and you're lavish in pointing that out. You're encouraging. You compliment them. Because, for one, that's just what God's called us to be encouraging, to be loving in that way. And a byproduct of that is that it also shows that you're secure with yourself and you're strong because a woman's going to see that as a sign of strength when you point out the good in others versus the type of person who mocks and points out the bad in others and tries to exalt yourself. That's actually a sign of weakness to women. They see that. But when you're the type of guy who builds others up and not trying to just build themselves up, that's a sign of strength. Number 4, presenting yourself in ways that don't fit the occasion. So to start this point out, here's an example. If you're at the gym working out and you're with a woman that you want to pursue, or your girlfriend or your wife, whatever it may be, it's not, she's not going to judge you for wearing athletic shorts, a dirty t-shirt, and a backwards hat. That is accurate to the situation that you're in. You're at the gym working out. However, if you show up wearing that outfit to dinner at her parents' house or a holiday or something like that, it's no longer appropriate. You no longer fit the occasion. And a woman sees that as you not getting it. And it looks like immaturity and weakness. And on the other side of this example, if you are so uptight that you can never just go out and without presenting your best self possible, if you're just going on a hike with her and you're in the bathroom longer than her, getting yourself ready to look a certain type of way, that also is a sign of weakness, because who cares? You're going on a hike, it just present yourself as a man accurately and appropriately for the environment that you're going to be in. And this applies to spiritual matters as well. So if you don't know how to match the emotional frame for the situation, it looks like weakness and immaturity. You want to go to church and have some reverence. You want to be able to empathize with someone at small group when they're crying or going through something difficult. You want to be able to celebrate with that couple who just had their first child. If she sees you as not able to match the right emotional projection to the situation you're in, it's a turnoff. As Romans 12:15 and 17 states, "Rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep, give thought to do what is honorable in the sight of all." Ephesians 4:29 also states, "Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear." And number 5, not getting the job done. Strong men do what they say they're going to do. Weak men don't. It's that simple. If you say you're going to pick her up at 7 p.m., be there at 7 p.m. If you say you're going to go to a family party with her, make sure you get your work done on time. Get to the office early. Do what you got to do to follow through on that commitment you said you were going to do. You got to get the job done. If you're a talker rather than a doer, you look weak to women. Now, don't get me wrong, life happens. Sometimes we aren't going to be able to do what we said we were going to do. That's just real life. But if that's a trend, a pattern, rather than the exception, that's where the problem is. Don't be legalistic with what I'm saying here. I'm not saying you got to do everything perfect, but if it's a trend of not doing what you said, not getting the job done, then that is a sign of weakness. 1 Corinthians 16:13 through 15 states, "Be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong, let all that you do be done in love." Are you a Christian man who wants to glorify God in your relationships, your calling, and in your masculinity? If so, I'd love for you to subscribe to this channel. You're who I'm making this channel for, and I'd love for you and I to grow together as men. I'm Mark from ApplyGodsWord.com. Until next time, God bless.